Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to Resort Originals. Now before I get into the video, before everyone gets super pissed at me, I just want to say I am very happy Ash Ketchum has finally become Pokemon Champion. But we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into seeing if this is justified for him winning it all and just kind of comparing it to past tournaments that he's been in and kind of see if the competition levels kind of been the same. But it's not, but we're going to get into that. So the first thing I want to dive into is specifically how the format of the Alola League is. And the reason why I'm going into this part is because it's a little bit different than past leagues. And the fact that this league is brand spanking new. They've never done the Alola League before. They also don't have gym badges in the Alola League. And they never really had anything established. It was more of just, this is a region where it's just very relaxing to live in. Yes, they have Pokemon battles. Yes, they have their own style with the Z moves, but it never has been taken seriously to a point where they turn it super competitive. It's just more of, yeah, we have battling here, but we're not taking it to the extent as far as having a league and Elite Four and a champion and stuff. It was a lot more low key. Now, they eventually developed that, as we have seen in the video games and the anime, but it is all still fairly new. So there's a lot of trainers out there who have not actually practiced for this. And that takes me to my next point, is the candidates that are qualified for the Alola League. And that's anybody. Anybody can join. It doesn't really matter who you are. You got a Pokemon? Sign up and you are in. So the competition is very wide. Now it could be the best Pokemon trainer in the entire world is in this. But there's also a chance where you're going to get youngster Joey in there with his level 100 Rattata that still isn't going to be doing anything. So basically the competition isn't as strong as what we would necessarily get because trainers have not prepared for this specific event rather than maybe a couple weeks or a week into the league actually happening, because it wasn't exactly something that people were preparing a long time for. It was like, oh yeah, sure, let's try it out. We're going to be setting up the building and stuff. Let everyone know. Start practicing now because it's going to be happening soon, where it's more of an annual event in every other region. When it comes to the format, they decided to start out with a Battle Royale format. And with the Battle Royale format, we're going to experience something that's different, where you have bring one Pokemon in and it's good luck, don't die. That's pretty much it. Where it started out with 151 very ironic contestants that have joined into the Alola League, and with those contestants they bring it all the way down to the final 16 that enter in a regular tournament format where you actually set up a team and stuff to battle another opponent. So with the Battle Royale, Ash did manage to make it through, but it was an interesting tactic because the way it could work is you would team up with other friends and stuff to be able to take out one Pokemon. And I don't really think that's a fair move, because there's a lot of people out there that, hey, let's try it out. Then you have 5 guys who are banding together to be able to kind of take them out all at one, where maybe this Pokemon is the strongest one, but if you have 10 Pokemon aiming at this one strongest one and you knock it out, it's just like, it doesn't seem like it justifies specifically who you'd want to see, or at least who the strongest are when it comes to the tournament. Now I get it as far as time wise goes, they can't exactly show 151 different trainers and bringing that into a full tournament because it would just take too many episodes. So they had to turn into this format to kind of signify the 151 original Pokemon and bring that to Ash eventually winning the championship. But before we get to that point, it's just more of showing that we may not have gotten the strongest trainers available for the tournament when it started with the top 16. And when it comes to the competition, they didn't even have the Island Kahunas to be a part of it. They were more of the moderators, so I guess you could consider them like the Elite Four. But then you just basically have gym leaders that are being put into the tournament. But if Ash already beat all the trial captains, then I guess we already know what the result's going to be because he accomplished his goal before. So I'm glad that they didn't necessarily take Ash to be going against those specific trainers, where at least because we have already seen it. So it did give him a different route to be able to get there, but it just didn't seem like there was anyone that was really prepared other than pretty much the actual matchups Ash had, because those were the characters that were introduced to us throughout the show. So once we made it to the top 16, we had Ash Ketchum versus How. And the matchup is literally a one-on-one match, and it really doesn't make any sense. Like it's a Pokemon tournament. Everything else kind of started, at least with the preliminaries, has been a 3-on-3 match. So now they're bringing it to a 1-on-1. It just doesn't really make any sense. Why would you do that? And plus, Ash Ketchum doesn't even use his strongest Pokemon. He uses freaking Rowlett. And with that match, it was Rowlett versus the fully evolved version of Rowlett, and somehow Rowlett came out to be the winner. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, yeah, it's just, come on. At least we were able to see Rowlett use a move that's effective against Decidueye, so it would make sense that would do a little bit more damage. But if we are going to revert to one point that has had losses in the past that was shown in the anime, is when a Pokemon falls asleep, they are unable to battle. We have seen it multiple times. It literally happened in the Kanto League where Charizard fell asleep, so he was unable to battle, and that was it. And we've seen it with Sleep Powder being used. But now all of a sudden, it's now allowed to work where Rowlett falls asleep, they are about to call the match, and then freaking the Island Kahuna decides to just go, hey, he's sleeping. He didn't lose yet, which I personally agree. It didn't make sense in the past anime episodes if a Pokemon was asleep. Just because it's unable to battle doesn't mean it's fainted. You still gotta knock it out. So the fact that I'm just referring to what we have used as reference in the past anime episodes to use their logic into this current episode of Ash vs. How should have won. Ash should have been eliminated immediately. So now there's already kind of another tick that just doesn't really seem to be justified as to why Ash even made it out of the top 16. That's basically the facts for top 16, so let's move on to the top 8. Now, to bring up the counterpoint is that Ash Ketchum did use his Heracross in the Sinnoh League where it ended up falling asleep, but it had a move prepared for it as Sleep Talk. So there is an example where a Pokemon has not been officially knocked out when it has fallen asleep, but the inconsistencies is just something to relate to when it comes to this situation again. Once we made it to the top 8, it was Ash Ketchum versus Guzma. And watching the battle, it actually did make sense as far as why Ash won, where Ash's Torracat used a Fire Blast, where Golisopod used the ability Emergency Exit to switch into a Scizor who is 4 times weak to fire, and it got knocked out immediately. So we saw a lot of plausible stuff, or stuff that just made sense within the battle, so I understand why Ash won during the match. And then another problem with this battle, it's only a 2-on-2 match, where it's like we're in the top 8, we're only doing a 2-on-2 match. It's not realistic. That's not how the Pokemon battling works, where we have to get to a point where you're showing everything that you have done throughout your time in this region, all the Pokemon you have collected, and use them to your full potential in battle. The fact that you only get to use 2, like, come on, that's not even showing everything. And it just seems like with this version of the anime is we're showing almost too many characters battling, where it doesn't really matter about them. It's about Ash. Now, yes, we have the other companions that have decided to enter it, but in the end, it doesn't matter. We know Ash is the strongest out of all of them. We can already predict that they are going to lose, where it's not a surprise, where normally Ash doesn't make it all the way, but we know he always makes it further than his friends, unless if there's just some random person that he meets a couple episodes before the tournament starts, and they always end up foreshadowing the match, and who ends up winning? Most of the time, it's not Ash. So as far as predictability goes, everything that we know thus far makes sense. So the fact that we had a top 4 match only have a 2v2 battle is just absolutely ridiculous. It just doesn't get to the level that we have seen in every other generation before this one. And it's just like, you have to show what you prepared for. Like, you have to show off your entire team. There's a reason why you're allowed to have 6 Pokemon on you at all times. That is your entire Pokemon team. And the fact that we reduce it to 2? To freaking 2? That's unacceptable. It really is unacceptable. And if we're gonna give a power level to Guzma, we could kind of give it close to something as a bad version of Giovanni, mainly for the fact that Guzma has just been known for losing and not being qualified to be a part of the island trials and stuff. So since he's always been kind of a loser, but he would be stronger than the average, or I guess maybe a little bit above average trainer, you just don't really seem to believe that he would beat Ash anyways. We just knew it would be a strong matchup. So that's pretty much all I'd really get out of it. Is just like there's no outlier that we really saw throughout the entire anime that would be someone that would challenge Ash. So if we're going to evaluate Ash's team right now, we're going to look at each Pokemon and just kind of give it what specifically I would give it as far as a rating out of 10. So we'll start out with Ash's Pikachu. Now, Ash's Pikachu has been exactly the same throughout the entire anime. It doesn't matter if you're at the very start of a region or at the very end of the region. He just matches the level of whatever the competition is. I'll never forget when he lost that freaking Snivy. Just, I'm not getting into that. We know Ash's Pikachu always is going to win one match, or it's going to be a deciding match that is going to bring him into the next round. That would be something super important. And this round it was for the Golisopod, where it showed how strong Pikachu is, what it kind of developed as far as with the Pikachunium Z crystal that he had to be able to show that strength within battle, and that's exactly what we got. So if I were to give it out of a 10, I'd give Pikachu a solid 7, but give him a 10 when the writers want him to be a 10. And then next we have Ash's almost second in command, and that would be the Lycanroc, and we'll get to that a little bit later once we get to the championship round. Lycanroc seems to be the strongest Pokemon on his team. It already had a unique form that was brought exclusively through the anime as more of an introduction to it, and then we were able to get that in the games, which was pretty nice to see, where we normally don't get really reveals in the anime since I think back in the original series with Togepi. It might be that far, and I guess with some of the movies as well, where they would kind of preview the upcoming generation. So we've seen that a couple times in the anime, but I would say not so much recently. So with Lycanroc, it seemed to be his kind of ace, and we do see that in the championship round, but we don't see him at all throughout the tournament. Like, if that's your strongest Pokemon, why aren't you using it right away, especially in a 1v1 match? In a 2v2 match, like, why would you even change up your roster? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If I have one chance to win, I'm going to use my strongest one every single time. There's a Pokemon Center right next door. I'm going to that right after my match. All right, we're going again. Like, we don't have time to be able to just, oh, I haven't used you in a while. Let's give some variety to my team. No, we are using the strongest possible Pokemon to be able to get us to that championship. So already the logic there is just more, well, in the anime, you want to show off all the Pokemon and then use them in battle and kind of just give them their time to shine rather than using your main Pokemon over and over again. And we've seen that before, but it's just more of, it made more sense because we would see that Pokemon multiple times as far as an ace goes, because it's a 6-on-6 match. So we could get a lot of love to a lot of Pokemon, but when it comes to only using 2 Pokemon for a match and then 1 Pokemon for a match, I'm sorry, use your strongest one every single time. So that's my take on it. And then we get to the final showdown of Ash versus Gladion. So with the time to shine this time around is with Melton evolving into Melmetal. So we get to see a brand new form. With Melmetal, we got to show it off. Brand new evolution. That's going to be used in battle for sure. And it's going to take that battle up a notch to be able to compete with Gladion. And Gladion, he's a solid opponent. Nothing to mistake about. He's someone that's been training all the time. He's kind of like our quote-unquote rival, and he seemed to be the one that would be foreshadowed to go against Ash eventually in the tournament. And then one thing just to say that is more of on Ash's side here is Gladion kind of cheated his way through, because he's the only one that seems to be allowed to use items on his Pokemon. I mean, it's a held item, and whenever he sees a Pokemon that he's weak against, he just switches out the item and throws the type effectiveness. So the fact that it can switch out its memory disk to change its typing mid-battle, not even before battle, but like, oh, yeah, that's a steel type. I'm just gonna go switch out and give it the fighting type to be able to give myself a competitive advantage. It's like, that's a red flag right there. So I'm siding to Ash here. He got kind of shafted when it came to just switching items. And I guess if we were gonna give any item, it would be the Z Crystal, because technically it is a held item, so you get to use it in battle. So we did get to see it. So I guess Ash kind of evened it out when it came to held items, but the fact that Gladion just switches them out to make sure he has a competitive advantage is a little bit BS. A little bit BS. And then unfortunately for Melmetal, he doesn't have that much time to shine, where he's shown off in the anime, but he loses in his first match, which actually did surprise me, because most of the time whenever a Pokemon does evolve, they always end up winning the match, and the fact that it evolved and still lost is a little bit embarrassing, to be honest. And it's just like, okay, that's how it's gonna be, I guess. So then we have, to my ranking system, level 10 out of 10 Pikachu goes in the championship round, taking on the Silvally, which is actually a pretty strong Pokemon. So seeing Pikachu elevate its powers up to Silvally, we know that Pikachu has to win, because you wouldn't have one Pokemon beat two of his three Pokemon, considering it's only a 3-on-3 match, where if it was a 6-on-6 match that we'd see in past anime tournaments, where it was more Pokemon would maybe win one battle, maybe two battles, so that would maybe make more sense in a 6-on-6 format. But a 3-on-3, we knew Pikachu had to out-edge the opponents of Silvally, because then Ash's Lycanroc would have to knock out three Pokemon. Seems almost impossible. And then we have pretty much the first time where we see two trainers just laughing about the battle, which I thought was interesting. Like, it'd be more of like they're just excited and they're having fun with it, but the fact they just kind of just start laughing out loud is just, it didn't really make any sense to me. Where we've seen in past anime episodes in the tournament where they vocally say that they both are really enjoying the battle, no matter what's going to happen in the end, about who's going to win or lose, that they're enjoying it. But this was just a little bit of a different take. Now I get the cuteness behind it, but it's just more of like, if I'm battling someone for the championship round and I'm really enjoying it, I would vocally say, like, hey, this is a great battle. This is awesome. I'm having the time of my life. I wouldn't just start laughing out loud. It just, like, it doesn't really make any sense to me, but it's whatever. But continuing back to the battle, we have Pikachu versus Zoroark, and it would make sense that they would both tie, because we want the one-on-one match where we have the two different forms of Lycanroc, which actually is a pretty cool match, but I wouldn't treat that as, like, this is the match of the ages. This is going to be the one that wins Ash or loses Ash the very championship that could give him the very first title he's ever had, but instead we just get Lycanroc versus Lycanroc, and it's cool, but I was just kind of hoping something more like an Incineroar versus a Silvally, where I think might be a better matchup. But because Lycanroc is Gladion's signature Pokemon, not only in the anime but the video games, it would make sense that that would be his ace, so I'm not going to fight it too much. And then we honestly get a great battle between the two Lycanrocs. It was fun to watch. One thing that you always see in an anime battle is the protagonist, their Pokemon, just keeps getting wailed on and wailed on and wailed on. It's like, how is this thing not fainted yet? And the other Pokemon's in like perfect health, and then all it takes is like one super strong move for it to barely get up and just knock it out in like 1 or 2 hits, which is kind of what happened here. But there was a good give and take where you really didn't kind of see where it was gonna go. At the very beginning, you knew Ash was losing, but you knew like it's not just gonna be it getting wailed on and then it just gets knocked out. You know he's gonna have a fight back and there's going to be a counter move, and they did show that. So overall, it was a very, very good battle. And then we get the final blow where it shows Ash strategizing and seeing what his opponent has been doing and how he's going to be able to counter that, which is what he did, where he was able to counter a counter, which I don't know if you can do in the video games, but hey, it's the anime, so it's interesting to see, and it's whatever. I'm not gonna fight it. It was cool to watch. But then we just have the counter, which we thought that was it. It all makes sense. Ash is done, and then we have the fight back with the counter to be able to officially knock him out. And then you just see Ash standing there and just like, wait, did I just win? No. So we got Ash finally winning his championship, and it's just a great feel good. Just it's a good story for Ash. It shows all of the hard work and everything that he has gotten to eventually become Pokemon champion, and I couldn't be more happy for him. As far as it being the most epic battle I've ever seen, to see him finally become the champion, no, it's not that. I've seen I've seen a lot more entertaining battles. I have absolutely loved the Infernape battles that we got to see in the Sinnoh region. The battle between Charizard and his Greninja in his Ash Greninja form was just, it was an amazing battle, and to be honest, I think that's also kind of BS that a freaking fire move ended up beating out a water move, a freaking water shuriken, and it's just like that, the writer's just like, yeah, no, he's not winning this time. We're just gonna, I don't care. Blast Burn, that's stronger than Water Shuriken. We're just gonna put that down. And, yep, that's a loss. That's a loss. So we got Ash winning the championship. It's a feel-good story. I'm happy for him. But when it comes to just seeing everything that he worked up to, at least in the Alola region, it just didn't seem as rewarding as it would have been in the Kalos region or the Sinnoh region. And his Pokemon, they weren't fully evolved. They're at a couple of their base forms. We got a newly evolved Melton into a Melmetal, and it lost in its first try, and we never saw a 6-on-6 battle, which is what Pokemon is kind of about, especially when it's at its peak performance. So it's just a little bit underwhelming to see how he won it all, and if it's justified as far as who he specifically went against. So all in all, I'm happy for him, but I feel like he definitely deserved it in different generations than what he did in Alola. Now, as far as a story that is showing what it takes to be successful. Success does not happen overnight. It's going to be something that takes a lot of work to be able to get to, and then you're really proud of it when you finally accomplish that goal, no matter how long it takes. Stuff doesn't come easy for everybody, and Pokemon has a great message behind it where they tell you just to never give up. And that's a message anyone can live by, and Pokemon was able to deliver that message. The only problem is it took 22 years. And since it took 22 years for it to finally happen, you think of who specifically is watching this. You're not getting a lot of people like me that's still invested in the anime after 20 some years. You don't really get that. You're not waiting for it. You're getting a lot of kids who are watching it on TV, and maybe they've watched a couple seasons and they see him win it all. And you don't really see the character growth that it takes to be a champion. And you deliver this message more to kids, and if it took me to basically start out as a kid and see Ash fail over and over again, and I'm 25 years old now, and he finally won it all, I don't think that message was meant for me. I think the message was intended for a younger audience, where maybe if you watched him in the Kalos region and then you watched him to Sun and Moon, and maybe you're 9 or 10 years old now, where you get to see him maybe lose once and then get him to win, that could be a message that would be more signified towards that audience. But for me, it's just like, finally he did it. So as far as saying if I think Ash is deserving of this championship, and I think he is deserving of this championship, but am I getting the satisfaction that I could have gotten in other generations? No. So let me know if you guys think it's justified that Ash Ketchum finally has become champion, and it's as gratifying as it would be compared to other regions where he maybe have had a better chance, but there would always be some kind of trump in the way. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys giving me a chance to watch this video. Don't forget to leave a like below and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.
Hey trainers, Ash Ketchum here to thank you for watching the Poke Resort. Become a Pokemon Master by subscribing to Austin's channel. Don't forget to see his other recent videos so you can watch them all. Pikachu and I have surfing lessons with Austin's Alolan Raichu. So, we'll catch you later.